I am so excited to have you here today talking about 3 essential tips to getting published on a guest blog. So actually, I am a member in a group where a question came in, and it was an amazing question that came in from Alyssa Barnhart on Facebook, and it was actually about guest blogging. So she wanted to know, is there any way, or was there a course or a bundle available on how to write articles and get them published in like a major publication like Huffington Post, Mind Body Green? You know, we see these big news sharing organizations that always have guest bloggers. So how do you get your blog, your article, your name circulating around there? And she meant both for blogs or articles, and she has a professional journal and she publishes it quarterly. So I think that that's what she wanted to get submitted. So I understand, Cheryl, that guest blogging is actually a huge passion of yours.
It is, Mary. I'm a bit of a self-confessed guest blogging nerd, actually. I find it really fascinating. And I've worked with my clients a lot on it just because of the way the media landscape is. And obviously a lot of guest blogging outlets like Inc.com and Forbes and Entrepreneur, some of the really big ones, actually have a larger audience than, say, your local TV station. So while we might think the mainstream media is great to have, and of course it is, the way the media landscape is, online media, which is really what guest blogging is, has become so popular. So I'm going to share with you 3 tips that are essential for guest blogging success. But before we do, I'm also going to share some of the benefits of it because I think that's really important for people to understand. I know the lady, Alyssa, who asked the question does, but just for everyone watching, I really want everyone to understand the benefits of this so you can get the most out of these tips. So I used to write for the Huffington Post. I used to be one of their contributing writers, both in Canada and in the UK. And I had 2 of my articles for Elephant Journal go viral. They were actually on mental health, depression and anxiety, which were the 2 articles that I wrote, which I did not think were going to be popular, but they really blew up in many ways. So I think guest blogging is such a powerful tool. So that's some of my personal experience with it, aside from the stuff I've done with clients. But there's 3 main benefits to it. One is that it's a great way to establish yourself as an expert. This is because of a concept we use in PR and branding and marketing called co-branding. So you'll always see celebrities partnering with a certain perfume, and it will be usually an A-list celebrity and a designer perfume. The way they do that is it's matching like for like. It's very much, if anyone's familiar with the law of attraction.
Co-branding.
Yeah.
Can you tell me exactly what co-branding means?
Yes. So co-branding, and this might be a British term, so it might be called something different in the States, but it's basically when you partner together 2 organizations. So I was mentioning kind of the perfume and the A-list actress example. Another example of that would be Gabrielle Bernstein and Lululemon.
So kind of like, okay, so in the States, I think we call that getting an endorsement deal.
It's an endorsement deal. It's a brand partnership. There's lots of different phrases for it, but essentially it's co-branding because you see two mastheads, if you will, 2 logos, 2 public figures who join forces.
Join forces. Okay, yeah. I'm actually going to be doing that with my friend Lola Glow. Brilliant. She has an essential oils brand, and I've got some ideas for her. Okay, so go back to the great question about guest blogging and your 3 essential tips. And I might just chime in as I have questions, because I have actually, Cheryl and I have been, we have been plotting to do this since before Christmas. So I am extremely excited to share this. And she's actually sharing some tips that she's never shared before. And you know what? Stay tuned. If you're interested in guest blogging, writing, publishing, or building a brand, or, you know, maybe growing your brand on social media, stay tuned to the end, because we're going to be sharing with you an offer today to get a free $500 course called Get Huffed. This is a course that Cheryl has generously said she's going to give to anyone who signs up for the Aspiring Authors Writers Workshop today. So stay tuned for that. And right now, hey, Becca, nice to see you. So right now, let's get started with these 3 essential tips.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get straight into the tips. By the way, as you're watching, if anyone has a particular outlet you've always wanted to be published in, then by all means, just pop it down in the comments below, whether it's ink or Mind Body Green. Now, I'm happy to share what I know specifically about those outlets, because it does vary depending on the how prominent the outlet is, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot I could say about guest blogging, but those 3 tips, I'll keep you hanging on no longer. Number 1 is work on your brand. Tip 2 is start small. And step 3 is follow the submission guidelines. So now that I've outlined what the 3 steps are, I'm going to explain what they involve in a little bit more detail. So step 1 was work on your brand. So what happens is when an editor or a producer or whoever you've pitched, whether it's mainstream media or guest blogging, what an editor is going to do is they're going to look at you and try and establish, is this person credible? Now, there's a number of things they go through, and it's very intuitive and very fast. And if you asked an editor, they probably wouldn't even say that they do this because it's so automatic. But they're looking at 2 things. They're looking at your branding. So that's what they see, your photography, your graphics, a company logo, if that's appropriate for your organization. If you're a personal brand, though, possibly not. And the second thing is your platform, so your social media. It's not just how many followers you have either, it's what is the quality of your content? Are people engaging with you? Or are you just pushing out content and it's sort of hitting a bit of a wall of silence? So they're looking at your branding and your platform. So what you can do in knowing that that decision is being made, and sometimes, and I've got to be really honest, they're making that decision based on your branding and your platform, not on the written content you've sent to them. So if you've got things like selfies and things like that as your profile image on your public Facebook page, frankly, that's not going to cut it for the bigger outlets. You might get away with it with the smaller ones, and we'll get to that in a second. So the first thing is take a look at your branding, get some professional headshots done. If you're starting out, I mean, both Mary and myself have spent a lot of money on photography, and I'm sure Mary doesn't mind me saying that. It is an investment.
Don't tell my secrets. Can I tell you? Can I tell you something?
Go ahead.
Okay, so first of all, I have a question already. I want to know, when you say about like your Facebook page, what about LinkedIn? And do you think that they're looking at your LinkedIn profile as well? You do?
Not usually. If not really, no. If they're a really business heavy outlet, like so if it's an Inc or an Entrepreneur or a Forbes, they might, but not typically.
Okay, very good. I actually think that LinkedIn is about to load.
Yeah, it's changing the way that the model. It depends if your platform's public or not. Well,
so okay, I just want to share a little photography thing.
Yeah,
we'll just deal with it. Okay, so as far as like your public pictures, before I invested in like actually having a photographer and doing actual photography shoots, I actually just went to Portrait Innovations in the mall and spent like $35 to have professional headshots done. It was really, really worth it. So like, as Cheryl was explaining about your branding and making sure that you have a professional image, if you don't have a lot of money to invest in professional photography, remember, you can just go to your local portrait studio and tell them that you want to get professional headshots. So yeah, good. All right, back to you, Cheryl.
Yeah, that's a great point, Mary. And you can also go to local art and design colleges. I'm in quite a rural area of England. I'm up north in the UK, so I'm not near London or anything, but I've got a couple of art and design colleges within like a 20-mile radius, and students there will usually be doing photography courses. So there's lots of ways to get photography done in quite a reasonable way, because you can spend thousands on photographers. So work on growing your platform, get photography done, grow your social media following. There's lots of different tips as to how and why. Have a good Google, follow myself and Mary, do what we're doing. And like I said, you can secure guest blogging tips without this, but you are really making it tougher on yourself, and why not give yourself the best chance possible? So that was tip number 1. I'll go straight into tip number 2, and Mary, if you have any questions at all, just chime in and we'll go from there. So tip number 2, start small. So what I mean by this is, yeah, just wave your hands or something. So With tip 2, start small. So what I'm talking about there is a lot of us want everything yesterday, right? It's just the kind of culture we're in at the moment, particularly with the way media is, and we think we can, you know, pitch psychology today and then they'll publish it right away. But actually, if you can find a slightly smaller online media outlet that really needs your content, they're going to have lower barriers to entry, so you're able to pitch them and then get an article published with that outlet, and then you pitch the next one up on the ladder. So it's a steering system, and I explained this in a video on Mary's page. I think it was last week. Can't remember what day it is. It's sort of been Christmas. So yeah, so go ahead, Mary.
Yeah, so I just wanted to chime in right there, because if you go to my page, Mary Shores on Facebook, you will see that the other day Cheryl did a brilliant video called The 3 Levels of Influence. So if you're interested in the topic today, please go check out that other video, The 3 Level of Influence. We've also done 3 main tips to get from the Hay House Writers Workshop that Cheryl and I shared together, because I was a speaker at the Hay House Writers Workshop and Cheryl attended in Bristol. Now, another video that we did was the Aspiring Authors Q&A. So those are just some other videos that you can check out for this series that we've been doing. And I do love your point about starting small, because what I want to say about that is that, you know, like, just because you have written an article doesn't necessarily mean that the article is going to be a good fit for that particular publication. So, you know, looking at is the genre like the same genre? And I love the idea of starting small, because places, so like, for example, Ariana Huffington just recently started Thrive Global, if I can pronounce my words today. So Thrive Global is newer than Huffington Post. And I've seen a lot of smaller authors get their articles in there, because you know what, with that publication, my gut is telling me that they're looking for new talent.
That's a really great point too. So another way you can tell with regards to whether an outlet is easier to get published in, essentially, is how easy is it to find their contact information? Because if an outlet is getting 200-300 emails a day, they're not going to publicly say on the front page of their website. You won't be on the front of Inc.com, on their homepage, it won't say send in your articles here. They'll bury it deep down so you can't find it. Or you can if you're nerdy like me, and you can pick it out. But you're looking for the outlets that on their homepage it's saying, here's the contact information, send it to us. And also look at the frequency of their articles. Have articles been published today, yesterday, last week? Or is their most recent content 3-4 weeks old? So you're kind of looking at how much content they've had published recently, start to make some assumptions about whether they're a smaller outlet and whether they have a really low barrier to entry.
Very good.
Yeah, so I'll go straight into tip number 3, which is follow submission guidelines. Mary touched on this briefly, which is look at the kind of the genre, the type of article that's published in that particular outlet. And it sounds really obvious, I know, to say read the submission guidelines, but it really amazes me how many people disregard them and think it's sort of a suggestion, whereas it's really not. It really is this is the writing guideline, this is the style we need, this is the tone we need, these are the type of articles we're looking for, the type of subjects we cover. But the most important thing when it comes to submission guidelines is the word count. So if they say they want an article that is 800 to 850 words, do not send them 1,200. More is not better in that case. They won't edit it for you. What they'll actually do, I'm sorry to say, is they will just delete your email. So I've heard this a lot, and I've almost the first word I say to someone when they've said, you know, I sent this through and it got rejected, I'll say, what was the word count they asked for and what did you send them? Oh, they said 850, but you know, I sent 1,200 because I thought it was a really good article. No. Send them exactly what they need and give yourself the best chance possible. Now, there's a lot of reasons as to why they have to stick to that particular amount of content. It has to do with advertising and the way that their website's set out. They need it to fit into a certain template, really. So that's why they ask for a certain amount, but give them what they need. So that was 3 tips to recap. 3 essential tips for guest blogging success. 1, work on your brand. 2, start small. Start with those smaller outlets and work your way up the ladder. And 3, follow these submission guidelines to the letter, particularly when it comes to the word count that they are asking for. So I hope that is really, really helpful for you.
Okay, so based on your last tip about following the submission guidelines, my question is, on the places that I have wanted to submit to, I actually filled out an application online to become a guest contributor. Mm-hmm. So it seemed like part of the step was to fill out if they, so a lot of these places have where you can create a profile and you can submit to be a guest contributor, and then you would actually go through that portal as opposed to sending in an email. Can you talk about that for a moment, Cheryl?
Yeah, absolutely. So the larger outlets will actually require you to jump over a couple more hurdles before you actually pitch an article to them. Outlets that need that are places like Inc. and Forbes. Forbes have a new thing called Forbes Council. It's Forbes Coaches Council, but it is a paid membership. So even though you have to jump through hoops, you still have to sort of pay to join. Inc's model is really interesting. Inc. will have you go through that process of registering, but you also have to commit, because I know, because I had a client who I won a contributing gig for her with Inc., and she ended up being invited as a keynote speaker at Inc's semi-annual conference in Vegas, which was massive for her business. She got lots of clients from that. But they actually get you to commit to writing 2 articles a week for 3 months, so for 6 months, sorry, with a 3-month probation, and it's unpaid. So the larger outlets can command that kind of commitment for you, whether it's signing a contract, as my client had to do with the editor at New York of Inc. in New York, or they might get you to fill out that registration. So when you're getting into that domain, it's more than likely a larger outlet you're pitching. And I'd love to know what outlet that was. I don't know if you want to share that publicly, but I'm very curious.
The outlet that I was talking about?
Yeah.
There were several of them that I had applied for. One was Om Times Magazine. You know, I don't remember what the other ones were, but I feel like I also maybe did Pop Sugar and a few others. Another thing that I noticed is on a few of the sites, you actually couldn't use the article anywhere else. So if you submitted an article to them, you actually had to wait until like a certain amount of time to see if they used it before you could send it out in like your own newsletter or send it out in, you know, like on another publication. So watch, you know, make sure you're reading those legal rules as well, because if they say that, you know, maybe it's an article that they would have used, but because you've already used it somewhere else, now they're going to reject it. So you want to make sure you're paying attention to copyright rules. Another thing I wanted to mention that I think is a great way to get started. So I mentioned LinkedIn earlier, but LinkedIn has a great way that you can submit articles. I've actually been published, I've published 74 articles on LinkedIn, and it's relatively easy to do. And it's a great way to start getting your articles shared, because like if I post an article on LinkedIn and then like Cheryl, like if you like it, then your entire network, you know, Facebook used to be like that. Facebook used to show you like if you liked something, it would show all of your friends, but Facebook's gotten so large that they can't do that, because then you would have notifications all day, every day. But on LinkedIn, we've got, you can do an article. It's really easy. You can add pictures, you know, you can add your contact information at the bottom, and then you can hope that people start paying attention to it and liking it and making comments. So I just wanted to share that, like, that's one of my personal tips of things that I've done. And also, so, okay, let's say what these 3 tips are again. So this is all new information to me, guys. So I'm actually super, super excited to be learning about this. So go ahead. What was tip number 1?
Tip number 1 was work on your brand. So let's get some professional headshots done and grow your social media.
Okay, great.
Tip number 2. Sorry, we're just cutting over each other. I think there's a slight delay here. Tip number 2 was start small. So use that laddering system of starting with the smaller outlets, working your way up. And tip number 3, follow those submission guidelines. So just find them on the website, do a Control F or Command F, and bring up that little search bar and type in things like write for us, contribute, write in those little keywords and click enter, and that will actually accelerate the finding of the information, because sometimes it's hidden in little footers at the bottom of the site. So do a little tinker around there and get really nerdy with it, and then find it that way. And follow their submission guidelines. Give them exactly what they ask for.
Yes. And that's really great advice for just almost about anything. So in the Aspiring Authors Writers Workshop, or Aspiring Authors Online Workshop, the part that I'm going to be teaching is the proposal writing. And same thing, like when you're writing a proposal, you need to make the formatting exactly what a proposal is supposed to be. A lot of people think it's a good idea to like add extra images or change the font, when actually that works against you, not for you. This is an area where following the rules will, like, they probably eliminate half of what they receive just because it doesn't follow the correct formatting. Okay, so working on your brand, starting small, and following submission guidelines. So Cheryl, you are very excited that you are going to be sharing this course it's actually not a free course, but you have decided to throw it in the package for the Aspiring Authors Online Writers Workshop. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're actually going to be including my digital masterclass, which is a 4-module course called Get Huffed. It was originally designed around the Huffington Post, but it covers absolutely everything you need to get published in all of those online media, anything from Huff Post to Mind Body Green, Elephant Journal, Inc., Forbes, you name it. And it's a really, really juicy bonus. It used to be sold as a course separately to the tune of about $500 US, and we're going to be including it for free with the Aspiring Author Workshop. It's such an important platform to use, and it's completely free. You can get so much reach with it, and so much clout and so much credibility, that I really felt called to include this. And it really is more than just a course. Anyone who has taken the course or who's worked with me privately, specifically on guest blogging, quite often they get back to me a year or 2 years later and say, I'm still using the tips in this course. So it's not just a one and done course. This is the type of thing that you'll use these tips for years to come. And I hope that it really does serve you long term.
I think that it's going to. I'm actually really excited to take this course, Cheryl. And,
thank you.
I know we were talking about it a few days ago, but I feel like this is extremely generous. This was not something that we had planned out when we were originally talking about the Aspiring Authors Online Workshop. So we put a link in the comments. If you are interested in getting your first book published, Cheryl and I are team teaching the Aspiring Authors Online Workshop. This is a 2-hour workshop. It will be live, but also recorded. So you'll receive a recording of the workshop. And what we're going to learn is we're going to go through every single section of proposal writing. So this means, and which, by the way, I am a best-selling author with Hay House Publishing. So I'm going to be showing you exactly how I got published, and you will receive a copy of the proposal that won me a $10,000 contract with Hay House Publishing. We're going to go over the overview section. We're going to go over the market research that's necessary for your book proposal. We're going to be going over how to write your chapter abstracts, which is just really like summaries of each chapter. So each section of the proposal will be taught to you in detail. Get Huffed is an amazing course. Michelle, I actually cannot wait to take this course. My staff, my team, and we are super, super excited. Thank you for saying that. Also, we're going to teach you how to build a platform, because if you want to get published through a major publisher, the number one thing they're going to look at, just like with this guest blogging, is the size of your platform. Something that you said, Cheryl, about one of your clients that got that keynote speech in for, I think, was it Inc. or Success?
Inc. Yeah, Inc.
Inc. That that event that you're talking about, that is one that I have my eyes set on. So I would love to, I'm going to use your course to get published in ink so that I can get, published in ink, because that's one of the things that I have my sights set on, is to be a speaker at that very event that you're talking about. And Success Magazine has one as well.
Yeah, and you know what? People really need to understand this too. I mean, I'm a PR person, so I think sometimes people look at me and think, oh, you're just talking about reach and media coverage and publicity. And it's so much more than that. It's about opening doors and building relationships and getting access to things that weren't previously accessible for you before. You know, my client who got the speaking gig was actually a speaking coach. And you can imagine the type of people that attended who needed her services. And she got so many clients, she was booked out from it. Another client was featured on Mind Body Green, and her article wasn't just published there, it's featured on the homepage. Jack Canfield tweeted it out, and he has about 1 million followers. So you just you cannot buy that kind of publicity or that kind of opportunity. So it really opens so many doors. So please don't just think of it as, you know, for anyone, don't just think of it as media coverage. It opens doors for you, and it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, so if you're just joining us live, what we're talking about is that Cheryl is going to be including her $500 masterclass called Get Huffed, which is all of the tips and steps. It's a step-by-step guide to getting your blogs and articles picked up by major publications like Elephant Journal, Huffington Post, Inc., Success, Forbes, you know, whatever everyone's different depending on. Mind Body Green, I think, is another one that you mentioned. And so yeah, I'm very excited to take the course, and she's going to be including this free with your sign up for the Aspiring Authors online workshop. So some of the other free gifts that we're going to be giving away are, like I said, the proposal that got me a $10,000 contract with Hay House. We're also going to be including a pitch note template, which is where Cheryl is going to be teaching that part of the workshop to teach you how to make a pitch. So this could be useful to getting you on a podcast, to getting, oh, Tasha has signed up. I'm so excited to hear that, Tasha. Yay, I was actually hoping that you would sign up, because so Tasha is going to be submitting a proposal this year, or actually in 2018, to Hay House. And I love her topic, and I think she's got a very good chance at getting published with Hay House. So this pitch note is very useful. I'm also going to be sharing my social media tips sheet, which is going to be just giving you like the basics. It's not really something I'm going to teach in the workshop. It's just a free giveaway. I'm also going to be giving you my exclusive chapter planner. Now, what this chapter planner is what I used to write my book. And it was very useful for getting over any kind of writer's block. So the online workshop, it's 2 hours. It's going to be co-taught with Cheryl and I. She's going to be teaching the parts that she is an expert in as a writing coach, a strategist, and a PR expert. So if you want to know, like, why some people get big really fast, like Gabby Bernstein, it's because they had a background in PR, and I did not have that kind of background. And so I kind of learned everything the hard way, and I am going to be teaching you all of the things that I wish I knew 3 years ago when I first got started. So now, you know, I have a larger platform of more than 30,000 people. But when I started, I didn't have anyone. Okay. I had zero people. So it's amazing now to see the transition and the transformation. So sign up for the Writers Workshop. It's only $79. Once you have the recording, you'll be able to keep it forever, as well as the free gifts and this surprise, amazing master course, which is something like I'm just so excited about.
It really is. Like, I know we've just had Christmas, but the course really is the gift that keeps on giving. You can use these tips for years, but it's so honestly, like, once you know how it works, I always had people say to me after they took the course, it's so easy. And it really is. Like, not to knock anyone that's got published, but once you know how, you go, oh, that's why I wasn't getting through. It's that whole thing of you don't know what you don't know until you know it, and then you implement it, and then you can get published. So I'm really excited to share this with you.
Yeah, and you know, I think something you said is just so important because what I think is so, when is the course? Good question, Michelle. It's on January 14th. So it's coming up in just about 2 weeks and a couple of days. And I've
Yeah.
invited Cheryl to continue to do lives on my page because I'm actually going to be taking off for a few days to do a meditation retreat at the Monroe Institute, which I am super excited about. I plan my entire years of 2018 creation and goals at this one meditation retreat that I'll be at on New Year's Eve. Believe it or not, when all of you guys are partying, I'll be like having my Zen moment. So if you've just joined us, because I know we have some new viewers, we did go over the 3 tips to get on a guest blog. And I also want to say, you know, there are some amazing best-selling books that started off as a blog that got picked up by Huffington Post or Elephant Journal. One of my favorite examples of this is the book Why You're Not Married Yet by Tracy McMillan. It's very much a dating book specifically for women. And that book actually started off as a blog post that got published, I want to say, in either Elephant Journal or Huffington Post. You know where I found Tracy? On Oprah Soul Sunday. So do you see how if you're trying to get your career jump started, like, right? Like we're, you know, the way that people try to start their career oftentimes is leading them to spin wheels. But if you're producing, if you're documenting your process, if you're producing content, then my suggestion is you put this in a blog form and you submit it to Huffington Post, to Elephant Journal, to Pop Sugar, because that is the way in today's world to get discovered. If you're writing this stuff, if you're doing it anyway, why not get yourself organized, learn what the proper steps are to get you in the door, and then see what happens, because you might end up on Oprah Soul Sunday one day, which is where I'm going.
And incidentally, I would absolutely, I'll be there with you. I would love to know who is doing the PR for Lewis Howes at the moment, because he or she is knocking it out of the park. I mean, he has blown up, and he's a great example of someone who's an online entrepreneur who's gone into mainstream and what I would call real world success. You see his book in the bookstores, he's doing talks, he's on all kinds of mainstream media, too many to mention really. So that is an example of how you can absolutely blow up from starting with your own platform. If you haven't seen the video, the 3 levels of influence that I created on Mary's page a couple days ago, then go check that out, because I really explain that laddering process in more detail. And once that's broken down, as I said, it's really not as difficult as you think to start getting coverage. So please don't be intimidated by it. There's lots and lots of tips Mary and I are sharing, so please do take full advantage of it.
I love being transparent about our process here, and like I am telling you that you can get yourself published in a major publication, then it will jumpstart your career in a whole new way. It will cut you through so much red tape, because you will instantly, especially if you can like properly market the article, and if it happens to go viral. But you know, the way to increase your chances of that is to submit as many articles as you possibly can. So if anybody has any questions, I think that now's a great time. If you have any questions about the content that we shared today, or about publishing in general, I would love to take any questions that you may have. So
I'm just seeing in the comments
sorry, go ahead. Oh, go ahead. I don't see the comments as easy as you might.
Yeah, I was just refreshing my page, so I've got my laptop open as well as being on live on my cell here. Sandra just signed up. Sandra was talking to me on Twitter today about her reading goals for 2018, and I think we're going to keep each other accountable, Sandra, aren't we? So thank you very much for joining the workshop. I hope that's really going to help you out. Put that on your list to be read.
Did you say reading goals? This book is the one you need to read.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm reading it right now. It's really good. It's a really good book.
Yeah. What's your biggest takeaway?
You know what I love? I love how you combine spirituality with science. I think you say it that way, don't you? Where spirituality and science meets. And I love to hear, because I'm really nerdy when it comes to psychology. I like to hear the facts, and physiologically and psychologically, how does it work, and how does that mesh with things like the law of attraction. So I love that you back it up with real world stuff. It's not all kind of pie in the sky, woo woo out there. It's really practical, and I absolutely love that.
Yeah, Sandra, thank you so much for checking it out. I hope that you love it. You know, and so I think I'm a really great example of someone who had an idea and I had no connections. You know, all I had was a dream, Cheryl. And my dream was simply that for 10 years, I wanted to write a book. And I had no idea how to get started. And as you probably know from reading my book, I'm a very process driven and oriented person. So I love creating processes. I love following a plan. I love having step by step pragmatic ways to follow things. And so, you know, I don't want another writer to wait 10 years before they publish their book. I want you guys, if you have something to share to the world, trust me, no one else can share it the way that you can share it. I want you to share your ideas now. And I'm going to show you how to do that. We're going to cut so many steps out of the process for you. I'm not going to pretend like it's not hard work, because it is. But what if you're already working hard, but you're just not working in the ways that are going to get you published? You know, so many people, especially if they're writing a nonfiction book, they don't understand that you need to write the proposal first and then write the book. So, you know, the trick is you have to write the proposal, which is going to help you so much organize your thoughts so that your book will turn out 10 times better. I assure you of that. So, all right. Cheryl, did you see any questions coming through, since you can see them and I can't?
I don't think we've got any more questions. No, I don't think we do. Sandra's excited about the workshop. That's awesome. I'm glad you're joining us. Tasha's excited too. She's giving us some preach hands. Yeah, no questions, but thanks everyone for joining us.
So what did Tasha just say? Oh, wait, what about editing? Tasha just said something, and now Paula has said something. I want to address that, because one of the other Facebook Lives I thought you and I could do, Cheryl, would be to discuss the different types of editing. You know, one of the things that I was confused about in the beginning was I didn't understand the difference between developmental editing, copy editing, story editing. Like, there's all technical. There's even something called technical editing, y'all. So what
technical editing is, editing. So levels of editing. And now I'm actually from a fiction background, which is interesting because I've written fiction books, and yet my clients write nonfiction. I'm moving into the nonfiction space more now myself. But generally there's 3 levels of editing. You start off with that developmental editing, whether that is or nonfiction, it works both. Then you move down into line editing or copy editing, where they go through with more of a fine-tooth comb. And then finally it goes to, it's called different things in different stages, but the final area is QC editing. So that's really a very, very fine-tooth comb, where you go through and make sure your full stops or your periods are in the right place, your commas, and there's different types of quotation marks. There's 2 lines, and there's the ones that look like the 66 and the 99. So there's even 2 types of quotation marks. There's all those kinds of things. So basically, as you're going through those 3 levels of editing, you start with a really wide brush and go through and have an even finer tooth comb as you go through. So you start off big and then get it smaller and smaller and smaller, and really focus on the details towards the end. Another thing I would say is it can all be fixed in editing. So as you're writing your manuscript, if you are going for, say, a self-publishing model and you're not writing a proposal, as you're writing, it can all be fixed when you're editing anyway. So don't try and edit too much as you're writing, because you'll just end up meeting yourself coming backwards and getting into this analysis paralysis and end up not writing anything at all.
That's a really good point. And also, can you see what Tasha's last comment was? She was saying something about a piece being so frustrating. I want to see what she said there.
Let's have a little look. Tasha is saying it's so defeating for so many aspiring authors to not know that.
Oh, she must have been, I think she was talking about, I do. I think it was talking about when people write their entire book without knowing that you really need to write a proposal first. So, all right. Well, I think Cheryl, let's maybe do another, like you could go on, talk about the 3 levels of editing. That would be a great Facebook Live suggestion for you. And so I'm going to go ahead and sign off for now. And hey, thanks everybody for watching. I had a really great time with you all today. Bye-bye.
Bye.